Airtech Mod Soldier here, and I'm back to talk about House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 4, and my thoughts on this episode. I think it's a great episode. I think it's a great political episode, and it's pretty much a great Game of Thrones episode, playing the actual game. Daemon, he is definitely up there as one of the great characters, but I think Viserys in this episode pretty much shows he's not an idiot, and I loved Otto Hightower in this episode as well. Again, every character in this show matters, and they're not like side characters. Like, even small characters make a massive impact in this show, and that's what I think is great about the writing of this show. The acting is just flawless. I mean, every scene, there's no mistakes. There's no dead air. It doesn't feel like I'm just wasting time with one scene, and that's a good thing for a show. Keep me involved, keep me invested, give me information. That's what that's what you need to do in every scene. You shouldn't just have filler and filler and filler, and that's the problem with some shows. They'll just have filler, they'll just have jokes because they got nothing better to do, and that's not a problem they have in this show. But yeah, it's a great episode, and we find out more information about certain characters. But I do have one negative about this episode. It's Alicent for me. I don't know. She's still basically, technically the same character she was in the first episode, just with a different title. Again, I know Alicent from the books. I think she could be a great Cersei type character if they just open that up for her. Don't make her this weak woman. Make her like Cersei. Make her, she will actually take control of a situation. She will, use her power. And I kind of think they're just leaving that alone because they wanted to still be this victim. Listen, Alicent is not a victim. If you know the books, if you know the story about the House of the Dragon, she's not a fucking sit-down cry character. She is not that type of character. She never has been, and she shouldn't be in this show. I hope in the future she's going to turn into that character. She is in the books. But I am starting to think the showrunners are kind of trying to have a victim narrative around her, which is kind of stupid, in my opinion, because that's just going to ruin a character. Sir Christian was also in this episode. For me, his character and his relationships with a certain character, when you know his backstory, you can kind of see, okay, you are going to have to explain so much about what happens to him in the future, because we all know, well, if you've read the books, you know where he's going, you know what's going to happen to him. They have got to kind of explain it. That's the problem with reading the books and going to the show fresh, is certain characters, what's going to happen to them, and they are kind of making it a bit difficult for that character to go down that certain path, which is with Sir Christian. In this episode, they've kind of made it pretty difficult for him to do what he does. I'm just saying. But other than that, it's a great episode. Everything looked fucking fantastic. Again, I love the armour in this show. It looks real. It doesn't look fake like a certain bloody Rings of Power show. It just looks great. It sounds great. But one other problem, another problem with, actually I'd say with the whole Game of Thrones franchise, lighting. Lighting is an issue for me. It's very dark, and I get it. They want to do it authentically, having like candle lights everywhere. But in Lord of the Rings, not every scene looked massively dark. And I mean real Lord of the Rings, not the shit Amazon putting out. It didn't have to look massively dark. You could just have a candle, but they've probably got lights in the background to make sure the area looks brighter. I kind of think Game of Thrones needs to go down that route, because it is just way too dark sometimes. I've got to turn the lighting up on my TV like every time. But that's a small thing, and it doesn't really ruin my enjoyment of the show. This episode, I'm going to give it a 7. It's a good episode. It's not my favourite episode, though. My favourite episode, I think, will still be episode 3, 2. I don't know. Episode 3 and 2 are kind of good episodes to me. But yeah, 7 out of 10. If you haven't watched the episode, go watch it. And yeah, this show is just excellent. So let's get into spoilers now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So, the episode starts off with Rhaenyra pretty much trying to find a husband. And the king has set up all these suitors for her to, pick from. People who are going to strengthen the House of the Dragon, people who are going to bring something to the table. And, the House of the Dragon is bringing Rhaenyra. What are you bringing to give to the House of the Dragon to ensure that this coupling is useful to us? So, we start off with this old man who's like, 70. And he just goes on and on. And it's pretty much pissing off Rhaenyra to the point where she makes a joke about him. And yeah, it's pretty much... It is an insult because Baratheon, who's next to her, tells her, yeah, you shouldn't make jokes about this. He is a lord. He's loyal to your house. Disrespecting him like that might cause issues. But Rhaenyra points out a fact, the guy's fucking old, and would he even be able to have kids? He doesn't really bring anything to the table. He has a strong palace, a strong castle, because he mentions the fact it's strong enough to deal with the Dornish, but he's not bringing anything massive to the table, and it's kind of a waste of time dealing with him. So he gets told to piss off, and then we meet a kid who's a Blackwood. Now, the Blackwoods are the blood of the first men. He's young, he wants this relationship because his family used to be in charge of the Riverlands, but now the Tullys have been in charge of the Riverlands for hundreds of years now. But because they were kicked out, because they didn't join the Targaryens until the end, they got kicked off the leadership of the Riverlands, and pretty much the house is trying to build itself back up. But background about the Blackwoods, they are a powerful army, and having a relationship with them, especially knowing what I know about the books, if this is the Blackwood I know, he's going to be a pretty important person in the future. So it is good to see that they're bringing in other stuff from the book. But whilst he's trying to court Rhaenyra, we then see somebody taking the piss out of him, who is a Brecken. Now, the Breckons and the Blackwoods hate each other. They would go to war with each other if they could, but the Targaryens want peace. They hate each other. He's taking the piss out of him because their families want to kill each other. And when Rhaenyra pretty much says she's done with this because the insult's kind of pissing her off as well, she walks out, and then Blackwood, the kid, pulls out his sword, and they both duel with each other, and the kid kills the man, which is the Brecken. Now, some people, I think, are going to see the sigil on him with the deer or the stag and think that's a Baratheon. No, he's not a Baratheon. He is different house, so there is not going to be a war, and there's not going to be a war between the two houses because both accepted the duel. So that's clear. So next scene is Rhaenyra on her ship heading back to King's Landing. She is worried about how her father is going to be about her cancelling her tour. But she can't really think about it now because we again get Daemon, who arrives on his dragon past her and hits a ship, knocking Rhaenyra out, so he kind of did a stupid thing there. But yeah, Daemon's come back from the Stepstones, and he's going to go meet with the king. So the next scene is everybody's in the throne room. The king is getting ready to receive Daemon. Daemon then arrives. Rhaenyra is also there. He walks in. The King's Guard pull their swords out, and Daemon just walks up to them like a boss. I've got to admit that. Matt Smith Matt Smith plays this character like so amazingly. It's so great to watch him, man. God, he's a great actor. So Daemon arrives there. The king asks about the crown on his head. So you're a king now. And Daemon tells him that he was named King of the Narrow Sea because of beating the Triad, the Triumvirate. I think that's what they're called. And but he recognises that there's only one king, and that is his brother, and he kneels to his brother and hands him his crown. And when the king asks about the stepstones, Daemon just says to him, I've pretty much abandoned the stepstones, but I've left a shitload of bodies there to remind people not to fuck with the kingdom, basically. And I think it's a really good scene. Again, it shows that Daemon's strong to the lords, and Daemon's ready to take command, and that, you know, the territory is pretty worthless. I mean, it's only good for pirates to keep striking at ships, so there's no reason for them to keep ships there. It'll just be a waste of time. If anything happens, they'll just send another fleet to deal with it. But yeah, this scene just shows Daemon, he has changed. He's not just going to sit around doing nothing or just sneak in anymore. He's going to be up front with the king and show him that he is a Targaryen. And I like that. Oh, I also forgot the scene. He throws a hammer down to the king and tells him to add it to the chair. That was a great scene as well. I just wanted to mention that because, you know, I never realised, do the Targaryens add stuff to the chair? I mean, it could just be him saying that, but I would love to think maybe the Targaryens do get their dragons to melt other things and just add more to the chair. I mean, it would make sense for all the stupid fucking swords around the Iron Chair. Again, I hate the Iron Throne's look now. Those swords, it just looks ridiculous. You just need the chair. You don't need to have all these swords. It just looks ridiculous to me. We also saw Otto Hightower in the chamber, and he is massively concerned about Daemon coming back because Daemon is always a risk to Otto's power. He knows if Daemon gets power, he's going to lose a lot of power. If Daemon gets to the king, Otto's pretty much out as Hand of the King, and he knows that. That's why he's worried, because he has to deal with Daemon in some way, but he can't. He's won the stepstones, he's kneeled to his brother, and he's handed his brother his crown. He's literally done everything right, and Otto knows he's pretty much at a weak position now with the whole situation. The next scene is everybody's at a party. The king's talking with his brother. Rhaenyra comes over to say hello to her uncle. And in this scene, you're seeing the king and Rhaenyra's relationship is pretty bad. He is pissed off about the tour being cancelled. He's pissed off that Rhaenyra has not picked a suitor. Again, you have to remember, King Varys, he has an important duty. He needs to make sure Rhaenyra is right for the throne. He needs to make sure that she understands her duty. Like, he doesn't want war. He's lived in a Westeros where it's been peaceful for 60 years, and he doesn't want to be the king that puts it into a war, even though we all know it's going to happen. But you see that he wants Rhaenyra to take this seriously. He wants Rhaenyra to do her duty, because he knows if she doesn't do her duty, everything could fall apart. And he also knows about the fire and blood prophecy. That is the biggest thing to him, and he needs Rhaenyra to take this seriously, because again, King Varys, he is like, he really believes in this stuff. He thinks it's fact. Again, we all know it's fact, but he thinks it's fact, and he needs Rhaenyra to take this seriously, because he doesn't want her to fail. He loves his daughter. You can see that, but she keeps shrugging off her duty. She keeps fighting him, and it is just getting to the point now where he is considering changing the heir. But he knows if he does that, that's going to fuck up more things. That could create its own problems. And yeah, he just needs Rhaenyra to just do as she's fucking told. So Rhaenyra walks off and, gets pissed off at the king because he doesn't want to see the paintings, and he takes a shot at her. And then we see Alicent. Alicent comes over to talk to her, and it kind of looks like their relationship has kind of improved. Rhaenyra again starts complaining because, again, I think a lot of people are expecting Rhaenyra to be a Dany character. She is not a Dany character. She is, I'm going to say it, she is selfish. She is. I mean, you've seen her in like 2-3 episodes just complain and complain and complain. And when she complains to Alicent, Alicent has to remind her, like, yeah, you have like 100 choices. I only had one choice, your father. And then she insults Alicent by saying, oh, I don't want to be one of those women that just has to push out kids for the rest of my life. I mean, Alicent's life is that now. And she's not happy about it either. She's depressed. That's what my problem is, because in the book, she's depressed for a little bit, but she starts to, realise she's a queen. And I think that's what I want the Alicent in this show to realise too. She is a queen. She does have power. But you kind of see the relationship between Rhaenyra and Alicent has kind of improved. Alicent just needs a friend to talk to because she has got nobody else. And yeah, I think it's kind of good. It's a good relationship between them two. But the future isn't exactly going to be bright for them two. And I kind of want to see... Listen, they've got to cut the cord at some point, them two. They have to cut the cord. They have to stop being friends because of what's going to happen in the future. I want to see how this bond breaks, because I thought it was already broken, but this episode kind of said the bond's not broken yet. So let's see what we see in the future. The next scene is Rhaenyra talking to Daemon. She asks Daemon why he's here. He says he's only here to have the comforts at home. But Rhaenyra knows it's bullshit. Like, what are you really doing here? And, she talks about she doesn't want to be... She talks about the fact that she's pissed off with her father, how he's tried to take control of her life. But Daemon has to tell her, listen, you have to do your duty. You at least have a choice. I'm stuck with the woman that I got in the Reach. You have got a choice. So there's multiple characters having to tell Rhaenyra, it's not that fucking bad. You are literally being given like the best opportunity here. Like, you have the choice of the land, and you keep not choosing because you're just pissed off because you have to choose. I mean, it is dumb. Like, you have a choice. And so I kind of like seeing between them as well, because you kind of see that Rhaenyra is trying to get closer to Daemon. And you see Daemon... I mean, there is something between these two. And if you haven't read the books, you obviously see it in the previous episodes. There is something between them, and as they are Targaryen, it's not that weird. I mean, it is weird, but you know what I mean when I say it's not that weird in the context of Targaryens. The next scene is a small council meeting where they are discussing Corlys Velaryon and how he's becoming a massive problem for the realm. Now, the Velaryons are a very powerful house. They have ships and they have dragons. And as Corlys has not come back to talk to the king, they are becoming massively concerned about what is he doing. And is he prepared to do something stupid like start a war? But Otto Hightower tells the king that his brother has found out that Corlys Velaryon is trying to marry somebody from the Free Cities. Now, if Corlys Velaryon does this, he could probably change the balance of power in Westeros. Now, some people probably say, don't the Targaryens have dragons? Yes, but so do the Velaryons. They have a dragon pit. They have their own dragons. So, dragons right now are not the defining power anymore. Especially if the other house has dragons. What this relationship could lead to is the Velaryons could have the bigger army and have dragons and have ships and have the most ships. So it is becoming too dangerous to keep ignoring Corlys Velaryon. It's becoming dangerous to keep, you know, pissed him off basically. You know, this could lead to war. This could destroy the kingdom, and King Viserys knows that, and he knows that he has to sort this out now. The next scene is Rhaenyra heading to her room, where when she gets to the room she says goodnight to Sir Christian, heads into her room, finds a package left by Daemon, which is just a disguise for her to go down to King's Landing as dressed as a boy. She then gets a map of some secret tunnels to go through. She does. She meets up with Daemon and they go through the streets of Fleabottom. And we see all this crazy shit like fire burners and sex and stuff. But then we get this play where Daemon's trying to show Rhaenyra what the people think of her. And the people don't want Rhaenyra as their queen because, again, you can say this is sexist, but they don't think a woman can lead the country. And you can kind of see that Rhaenyra doesn't really care. She's annoyed about it, but she understands that they don't have a vote in this. But Daemon has to remind her, yes, they might not have a vote, but it is easier to have loyal subjects and happy subjects than it is to have pissed off subjects and subjects who would be willing to rebel. And in this scene, you can also see Rhaenyra, the fact she does not care about the poor. I mean, again, people keep saying that she's a Daenerys character. She is not that character. She doesn't give a toss about the poor. She doesn't give a toss about the wheel. She only cares about getting the power. And that's what I like about her character. It's like, she doesn't need to give a shit about these people. She doesn't need to care. But Daemon's trying to signal to her, you need to care and you need to become better. You need to have a better relationship with the poor. And that's what he's trying to show. But then Rhaenyra goes to some merchant, steals something from him and runs off. Daemon goes after her, but she gets picked up by a gold cloak. And then the gold cloak realizes it's the princess, but then he sees Daemon and realizes, oh, you're doing something to your uncle, fine. Sorry. And then they go to a brothel, where you see Daemon trying to show her the pleasures of sex and how it's not just a male-dominated thing. Because a lot of feminists, a lot of the weird people in our time seem to think sex is just for men. You know, when men have sex with women, men are the only ones who get off. It's bollocks. Again, it's from feminists who don't have that much sex. Women get off as much as men. Women want sex as much as men. And I think that's the problem with modern day feminism. It's just women who want to ban other women from having sex at some point. It's just like, men want to see gorgeous, sexy women. That's what gets us hard. You kind of got to accept it, ugly women. Do better in your own life. Go to the gym. Stop trying to ruin it for the rest of us. But in this scene, Daemon is trying to get through to her and say, sex is great, it's fun, you'll enjoy it, and there's power there. You know, if the right woman has the right skill, you could pretty much conquer the world with just a couple of minutes in the bedroom. And that's kind of what I fucking got from that scene. But also in this scene, you kind of get the confirmation that Daemon and Rhaenyra like each other in a sexual way. And when Daemon, you know, kisses her, puts up against the wall, you can say Rhaenyra wants it. Like, she wants him to she wants him to have sex with her. And, well, Daemon, he gets a bit shy or something, or something doesn't, well, the thing don't work, and he then runs off from Rhaenyra. I think he kind of sees this as wrong, not wrong as in family, because again, he's a Targaryen. This is not out of the realm of normal for them. No, he loves her. He actually loves her. He doesn't want to destroy her. He doesn't want to. I don't mean destroy. I mean ruin her and ruin her prospects. You know, to help the Targaryen family, and he doesn't want to put her in that situation against her father. So he does run off. And then Rhaenyra leaves the brothel, but she is spied on by some kid who's working for the White Worm. I think that's what the spy agent is called. And Rhaenyra heads back to her chambers. Sir Christian's pretty much like, how the fuck did you get out there? But Rhaenyra is pretty much horny as fuck and seduces Sir Christian to the bedroom. Now, Sir Christian hesitates like longer than I would have, I gotta be honest. He hesitates, but he realises, fuck it, why not do it? But you got to remember, Rhaenyra is putting his life at risk, because if the king finds out a king's guard had sex with his daughter, oh, his head is on a spike in a second. And I think he knows that, but I think he knows he could do it because Rhaenyra's not going to fucking go tell anybody about it. And so they both have sex, they both enjoy it, and yeah. We then get into the best part of the episode. Otto finds out from the kid, from the White Worm spy, about Daemon and Rhaenyra. Now, to some people who find out this information, this could be a massive gain for them. This is power to have that sort of information. But Otto knows this is a double-edged sword of information. Like, he can tell the king by telling somebody else to tell the king. He could say, you know, tell one of the lords to do it, tell one of the knights to do it, all that stuff. But he knows it doesn't come from somebody of importance. The king won't believe it. But if the king believes it, this is the kind of message where you actually do kill the messenger, because it will piss you off so much. So Otto Hightower knows he has to be tactful with giving this information to the king, which I actually love, because it just shows that Otto isn't just going to go tell the king thinking it's going to work. He's being, you know, strategic. He knows he has to be tactful with this information, and I think that's a great scene. And by the way, he didn't say a word. You could just see it in his eyes. You can see it in his facial expressions. You can see he's thinking. That's also a great way to tell a story. You don't need to tell us everything. Show us, don't tell. Pretty good thing about writing. Next scene is with Daemon, who's in the that whore he was with in episode 2. She's the White Rat, I think. She's the one now. She's no longer a whore. She's now deals in intelligence. Pretty much this version of Varys. And you know, she knows knowledge is power, so she's going to have her own spies all over King's Landing, and she's the one who gave the information to Otto. And before people try to say she's on Daemon's side or she's pissed at Daemon, she doesn't give a shit. She's working for herself. She only wants to, you know, get paid for information. That's all she cares about. So Daemon's on some bed, and she gives him a drink, tells him the situation, tells him to pay for the room, and then that scene ends. Next scene is Otto Hightower making the decision to go tell Varys about Daemon and Rhaenyra. So he gets into the room, he tells King Viserys about the about the information about Daemon's had sex with Rhaenyra, and when he does this, the king outright, you know, denies it. It's fake. If you tell me who's told you this information, I'll rip out his eyes. But Otto pretty much just says, listen, it's real. They had sex. You have to accept this. Now we need to think about the realm. And I think this bit kind of shows King Viserys is not a fucking moron. Because then he makes it clear to Otto, I know what the fuck you're on about. I know what the hell you're actually doing here. You want to push your blood onto the throne by destroying my blood. And he's pretty much making it clear to Otto, you're fucked up. And that he knows what the game is. And Otto in this moment pretty much realises, I fucked up. And I probably shouldn't have said this information to him, because I've just made myself weak. And pretty much made the king angry at me. So you've just seen Otto Hightower make the biggest mistake in his life. And I think that's massive. That's a great scene between them both, because it shows both of them have flaws, and both of them are not morons. But anyway, it's just a great scene, and Alicent's also there because she's hiding in the background. Because in the previous scene, the king asked Alicent to come to his chambers because they don't sleep in the same bed, and so that she can do her wifely duties. And you can kind of see she's not happy with this. She doesn't like the sex. Not that she doesn't like the sex, it's just she knows what it's for. This isn't passion. This isn't because they love each other. This is the king pretty much trying to shoot another baby into her, which she doesn't like. Because again, she doesn't want this life of just pushing out babies all the time. So I kind of like that scene. Again, I want Alicent to be a bigger character. I want Alicent to be the Cersei of this show. She can be. She has that ability to be that character. But they keep wanting to keep her in this, victim state. I think that's just a massive problem for me. So Alicent goes to the weirwood tree and calls Rhaenyra to her by sending a note to Sir Christian. Rhaenyra heads to the tree to talk to Alicent, and Alicent and her pretty much talk about what happened last night. And Alicent tells Rhaenyra, my father told your father what happened. Is it true? Did you fuck your uncle? She says, how can you say that to me? I would never do that. Lying, obviously. Again, they might have not gone the full way through it, but you could tell Rhaenyra wanted it. But yeah, Alicent gets angry at Rhaenyra, tells her that you're fucking up everything. If people don't think you have your virtue still, you're literally off the market, basically. We can't get anything from your marriage if you've been sullied. And Rhaenyra just says to her, I swear on my mother's life that I haven't slept with my uncle, and I am still a virtuous woman. And Alicent accepts that. The relationship between them both, it kind of goes between good friends to, are they going to be lesbian lovers at some point? And I hope we're not going to get that, because again, that's not their character. They're both, I'm not going to get into that anyway, but yeah. Alicent just wants to make sure Rhaenyra is still pure for them to still make an alliance with a powerful family for the House of the Dragon. And that's what she needs to care about, because again, she is now part of this family, and she needs now to make sure the king is safe and happy. And I think that's pretty good. The next scene, Daemon then arrives back at the palace. He gets grabbed by the king's guards. He gets thrown onto the ground in a throne room, where King Viserys pretty much interrogates him, kicks him, and just pretty much outright asks him, did you fuck my daughter? And Daemon doesn't deny it. I mean, he never did, but I think he can tell that the king pretty much knows what he's up to, and I think that he pretty much wants to tell his brother, listen, you asked me what I wanted, you said you said I could have anything. I want Rhaenyra. I want to marry her, and I want to make the House of the Dragon more powerful. I want to make sure that everybody starts to fear our house again. And that's when Viserys pretty much says, I know what you're on. I mean, I know what you're up to. You don't give a shit about Rhaenyra. You don't give a shit about the kingdom. You just want to get to the throne at any means possible. And he pulls a knife on his brother and says, you're not going to get the throne. You're not going to get my daughter. You are go back to your wife and never come back again. I'm done with you now. He's pretty much overstepped massively here. Now, does King Viserys give a shit about him fucking his daughter? Obviously not. He's a Targaryen. He pretty much gets it. But he understands that Daemon is not the right person to be in charge of the kingdom. Daemon has literally just put a massive, he's just put a massive wrench in to the king. I mean, if he fucks up Rhaenyra, nobody's going to want to marry her, and that just makes the kingdom weaker if Rhaenyra cannot get a suitable match. And that's what the king actually cares about. He needs Rhaenyra to be pure so that he can marry her to somebody who's going to strengthen the house. And I think that's kind of a good scene between them. It kind of shows King Viserys isn't stupid. You see that he's tactful, and you see that he's not stupid. Because you kind of got some people at the beginning kind of thinking King Viserys is this stupid, boring king who doesn't know what he's doing. He does know what he's doing. He's just tactful. He's not a, he doesn't just go in straight away. He needs to think about it, he plans, and then he goes at it. That's how he acts. I like that about him. So he banishes Daemon, and the next scene, the king then makes... Rhaenyra is then taken to the king, where the king shows her his knife, and shows that on the knife is the prophecy of ice and fire, and that she needs to start listening and start taking this seriously. He believes in this prophecy, and he needs the kingdom to be united so that they can fight it. And Rhaenyra needs to now pick an heir. And so he tells Rhaenyra she is now going to be forced to do her duty, which is to marry Corlys Velaryon's son, so that they can unite the two most powerful houses in Westeros and make the Targaryen families united again. Rhaenyra accepts this and says she will do it, but the king now needs to do his duty by his daughter and get rid of a threat to her throne, or at least to when she takes the throne. So the king accepts, and he orders Otto Hightower to the small council chamber, and he pretty much tells Otto, you've done a great job, and you were very lucky to get this job, but I understand that at some point you were thinking about the kingdom, but now you're not thinking about the kingdom, you're now thinking about yourself. And so I can't trust you anymore, and I need you to leave, basically. Now, this is a massive blow to Otto Hightower because he is a second son, and without being the hand of the king, he's technically nothing. And so when he loses the hand of the king status, he now knows that he's nothing, and now he's going to pretty much be, I think in the future, I don't think he's going to hold back anymore. I think he's going to be like Littlefinger. I think he's going to start trying to screw things up from the background and try to force the king to either accept him back or to put his grandson on the throne so his grandson can make him hand of the king again. And I like that scene. The last scene is Rhaenyra in her room, and one of the maesters comes, well, the Grand Maester comes and gives her a tea. Rhaenyra asks what this tea is, and the Grand Maester tells her it's a tea to get rid of mistakes from yesterday, and pretty much is an abortion tea to get rid of any chance of her having a kid from last night. And this is directly from the king, and I think the king's pretty much saying, okay, yesterday happened, but you now need to do the right thing, get rid of all the mistakes, and start to take your duty seriously. And that's when the episode ends. Great episode. I loved it. Again, this show is just amazing. I mean, again, it's just amazing. The Game of Thrones. I think Game of Thrones is back, but I'm not too sure. We haven't seen anything woke in this for a bit, so I've got faith. And it's just a great show to watch. It's so interesting. It's fun to watch. It's fun to kind of see like who's going to stab who in the back, and the action is great. And I'm just so happy with this show so far. And yeah, 7 out of 10. And that's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. Entertainment World Soldier. Bye.